Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brad Bly. I'm Director of Commercialization at AgWest Bio, and we're very pleased to be hosting this event, this business mentoring event featuring Mike Fata. So welcome, everybody. And thank you to the Global Biotech Week sponsors of this event. They are Saskatchewan Food Industry Development Center, Innovation Place, Global Institute for Food Security, and the Canadian Light Source. And of course, a big thank you to Mike Fata. Thanks, Mike, for sharing his time and knowledge with us today. With that, I want to introduce Mike. What I have in front of me here is a shortened bio, an extremely condensed bio of Mike's many achievements and accomplishments. Mike Fata co-founded Manitoba Harvest Hemp Foods in 1998. I think that's what most people know Mike for. From 1998 to 2016, he ran all aspects of the company as chairman of the board and CEO. In 2019, Mike helped guide the strategic sale of Manitoba Harvest to Tilray for $419 million. And Mike has dedicated over 25 years to studying and practicing natural health, starting in 1995 when he made the life-changing decision to lose over 100 pounds, and go from 300 pounds to his current weight he is now. He has gained an excellent knowledge of human anatomy, diet, nutrition, and obviously natural health lifestyle. Mike is a keynote speaker. He has been featured on various media countless times regarding natural health, nutrition, hemp foods, obviously, organic agriculture, sustainable business, and entrepreneurship. And he's won numerous awards. I encourage everybody to go to his LinkedIn and check out his awards. There's too many to list right now. It's really impressive. Mike is currently Chief Executive Officer of Fata and Associates, Chairman of the Board for Soul Cuisine, Director and past Chairman of the Canadian Health Food Association, CHFA, and Investment Advisor to a portfolio of companies. Everybody, please join me in welcoming Mike. Take it over to you, Mike. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. And happy to be here. And I'm happy to share a little bit about my journey and some of the things that I'm focused on, and maybe a little bit of how I see the world and the opportunity. And hopefully it's helpful for you all. But we will have some time for some questions. So if you have them, jot them down, and we'll get to them at the end. I really like to promote how even an unconventional path can still lead to success, especially as an entrepreneur. I was born in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and grew up with a single mom, so grew up pretty poor. Moved to Winnipeg at 7 years old, and maybe I didn't fit in right from there, but it was pretty clear as I started to gain weight and I was bullied at school that I really wasn't fitting in, and a combination of that and also the desire to help make money for my family. With my mom's permission, I dropped out of school at 13 and started working. At first, it was in the construction industry, so I worked in carpentry and asphalt and concrete, many jobs with a pickaxe and a shovel, and learned really at a young age what hard work is all about. I did advance into being more in a foreman position, even in my late teen years, and learned about people and quality and really the determination to get a job done. But I was still personally struggling with my health, and really I fell prey to the fast food movement, and I found myself at 18 years old weighing 300 pounds and being sick and tired all the time. And one day I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and decided to do something about it. And that's when I started my 100-pound weight loss journey, which if you ever seen the show Biggest Loser, it was kind of like that. I was lucky to have my brother that was into working out and took me to the gym and started pushing a barbell around with basically no weight on it, and crying and saying I can't do this. And step by step, day by day, I took more and more interest and control over my health, both what I was eating and then physical activity, and it made a huge difference. I started feeling better about myself, but I wasn't still educated about nutrition and diet, and the no-fat diet was very popular in the mid 1990s, and Dr. Nathan Pritikin and his materials, and so I started eating a no-fat diet and lost a bunch of weight, but learned the hard way about essential fatty acids. And I read a book, Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, by Dr. Udo Erasmus out of Vancouver, and learned not only that you need fat, there's the essential fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6. And in his book, Udo talked about hemp seed being the best source of essential fatty acids, but not available in Canada. It was only available at that time in Europe. And I always thought hemp was cool. I had a hemp bracelet, and I thought the plant was misrepresented. And now I learned about the seed being one of the healthiest seeds. And I had a vision really that the low-fat diet was going to change to the right fat diet, and hemp could be that product or be that catalyst. And so we started Manitoba Harvest. I was 21 years old. Had no formal business skills or training. When I had to write my first letter, I had to ask someone, "Hey, how do you write a letter? How does that work? It's dear so and so," and then you put the body of the letter and sincerely yours. And so just really starting from nothing. And there was 3 co-founders of Manitoba Harvest, myself and Martin and Alex. We started the business with $10,000, which is basically all the money that we had. And then we put our credit cards on the line, and that traditional entrepreneur startup journey. And it was really one farmer in Manitoba that we convinced to grow hemp seed, and started with one health food store in Winnipeg after we pressed hemp seed oil, and really at that time just a handful of consumers. And I went around everywhere that I could, telling people that hemp was going to change the world, and they needed to consider essential fatty acids in their diet, and try a sample. But it was a very bootstrapped approach to business. We did raise some money from some investment from friends and family, and some of our farmers that we started to work with. But we utilized also the resources, and I highly encourage it to all entrepreneurs, because Canada has great resources, especially in agriculture. Loans from the Business Development Bank of Canada and Farm Credit Canada, a tremendous amount of grants that we got from Manitoba Agriculture, from IRAP, from Western Economic Diversification, from Ag Canada. We utilized the resources of the Manitoba Food Development Center to make some of our first product before we set up our own manufacturing facility. Those are all tremendous resources that many other places in the world don't have, and we do have here in Canada, and it's very strong, especially on the prairies. As I got into business, I realized that not only did I need to learn and grow a lot, but I need to be really healthy to do that. And so I actually doubled down and tripled down on my health pursuit, and studied nutrition and diet and exercise, and really changed to an always learning mindset, which I think as an entrepreneur is very important. And I would say I'm a born entrepreneur, but I'm a made CEO. And business, I've realized, is really it's a lifestyle. It takes a tremendous amount of personal and professional growth to be successful as an entrepreneur or in business. And so I think about entrepreneurs are like athletes. It's a tremendous personal dedication to be successful. And that's exactly what we did. That's how we created success. There wasn't one big win. It was a million little wins that added up. But I think I credit taking the approach at Manitoba Harvest of quality, wanting to offer the highest quality product, setting up a quality business, and with the mandate really of being a world-class company. And so we went along that journey, and over time, became a BRC AA+ certified food safety facility, which is one of the best in the world. A B Corp, where we were, not only the profitable bottom line, but a triple bottom line approach for social and environmental responsibility. And that's something that really the business could stand behind. But it was also, that's why our our team members wanted to work at the company because they were working somewhere that they knew was not only a job, but it was making a difference in the world. And I think nowadays that's more important than ever. And similar to our customer base, I had a thought that we could build one customer at a time, and it's the slow approach to things. But if we did our job and offered a really good quality product that people could incorporate into their diet every day, and we took the time to educate them, and like I'd say, get our information into their head and our product into their mouth through sampling and demoing, that not only would they become a lifelong customer, but they would start to tell their friends and family about their experience as well. And we did countless demos in stores. If you're in the food business or selling anything of food, it's really all about getting the product into people's mouth. They have to try it. Consumer shows as well, right across Canada, throughout the US, anywhere that there was a health expo, yoga expo, women's expo, places that people go to learn and discover new things. We would go set up shop for the weekend and really put our effort to sample there. And not only do you turn on new customers in that way, but you also learn a tremendous amount of what people say are thinking about your brand, and you can use that information and those insights to better your products or better your messaging, and it really works. Our journey started in health food stores, but expanded to grocery. And you realize that when you're in a health food store, you can have interactions with the team members there, and you can train them, and you can educate them, and you can even sample to them, so they become advocates of your product or your business. You can create that community as you get into the grocery channel and selling into Loblaws or Safeway or Walmart. It's harder to have those relationships there. And so, a lot of things in the health food industry, the natural products industry, it's in natural organic foods or products, really start in the health food stores. And that's the reason why you could build community there. But we were successful in selling across health, grocery, drug, even up into club at Costco. And I was fortunate that we were interested in the U.S. early on, and so and it was a much different time to sell into the U.S. But we launched in the U.S. in 2001, so only a couple of years after we founded the business, and we had some big fights. The DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration in the U.S. Declared a war on hemp foods and said that hemp was illegal. Which was not right, but they created a misinformation campaign, which really made it hard for us. Our launch there was subdued, and we ultimately had to take we did take the DEA to court, and after 2.5 years, along with the Hemp Industry Association, defeated the DEA, and it was a huge milestone, I think, in our journey, but gave us another key market to sell into. And just for perspective, it took us 5 years to reach our first $1 million in sales. So and it took 10 years to reach $10 million in sales. So by no means is it an overnight success, and I don't see too many businesses, large businesses that are. You get the occasional unicorn that everyone hears about in the media, but that's just not the reality for most entrepreneurs and most businesses. It takes a while to establish a good foundation and a base and a team, and I'd say again, it's like a million little wins that add up. But after we reached about $10 million in sales, which was in 2008, 2009, we saw it as an opportunity to really start advancing and accelerating our growth. I think at that $10 million mark is about the right time for venture capital. And so we did raise capital through Avrio Ventures, a Calgary-based VC that was focused on agriculture and all the way through to natural and organic products as well. And that really helped us to establish what I'd call a $1 million management team, and really start to make significant investments in the marketplace across the things that we've learned, demoing and sampling and advertising and product innovation, but just on a much larger scale. And so by 2014, we were about $40 million in annual revenue. That was the year that I won Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award with a special citation for social entrepreneurship, which I have to say my mom was really proud at that moment. But that celebration and the awareness that created was huge. And Brad mentioned it earlier. I'm pretty proud to share. I think there's 12 or 14 awards that I've won over my entrepreneurial journey so far, and I wasn't shy to go after awards because I know that we deserve them as a business, but it creates a tremendous amount of awareness and what I'd say moments that live in PR. Media wants to naturally write about good things that are happening like that, and so a number of things lined up, and in 2014 like that, and in 2015 we sold Manitoba Harvest for the first time, and we sold a majority control position for $132 million to a US-based private equity company that really saw that hemp had an opportunity to continue to grow, and so they became a partner, and that was a $1 billion private equity fund. So we had a pretty big sponsor that was that we could continue to double down on our growth, and that we did. Literally, a couple of weeks after the business sold, we started the process to acquire our biggest competitor, Hemp Oil Canada. One of my friends, Sean Crew, that was just down the road from us in Manitoba, and was doing similar processing. And the end of 2015, we were successful in acquiring and merging with Hemp Oil Canada. We acquired them for $42 million. So I think without our private equity sponsor, we wouldn't have been able to do large transactions like that, which made the combined entity, which really goes by Manitoba Harvest still, the global leader in hemp foods, and just a really dominant position. Both companies were working right from genetics, owning genetics, working with a network of producers across Western Canada. Both own manufacturing, so there's 2 manufacturing facilities totaling about 80,000 square feet, and selling in Canada and the US and about 20 countries around the world. Both are branded products, as well as hemp food ingredients. And so things started to change after 2018. Canada legalized recreational cannabis, which definitely brought more attention to hemp as well. For anyone that doesn't know, hemp and marijuana are both in the cannabis family of plants. Hemp, by definition, no psychoactive drug, or less than 0.3% THC. But that 2018, that legalization really brought more and more awareness to hemp foods. Also that year, the US legalized hemp after 20 years of our lobbying efforts, and the day after the Farm Bill was signed to legalize hemp, they gave us GRAS status, which is generally regarded as safe for hemp hearts and protein and oil, which we had been lobbying the US FDA for 3 years. At that point, Manitoba Harvest was about 100 million in sales, growing about 75,000 acres of hemp across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, selling to about 16,000 retail stores in all classes, all channels of trade, and having millions of customers that were buying. And hemp hearts is still the flagship product, but millions of customers buying hemp hearts and protein and oil on the regular. And we got household penetration up to more than 10% of Canadian households were Manitoba Harvest customers. And so I saw the opportunity for as the cannabis companies had tremendous balance sheets. I had known Brendan Kennedy from Tilray, and I helped to set up the deal to sell Manitoba Harvest to Tilray for $419 million. we completed that transaction in 6 weeks time. It just, talk about entrepreneurs, like timing is everything, and it was the right time. And then my 23-year-old baby became part of the largest cannabis company in the world, and still is, and which is a pretty proud moment for me. I think I credit a big part of my success, and I promote this to many entrepreneurs. Giving back, or creating good karma is something that's very helpful in business, especially as an entrepreneur. I've spent over 20 years now volunteering and running some of our national industry groups. It started out as the Manitoba Food Processors Association, but then I chaired the board of the Canadian Hemp Trade Association, and was involved there for 6 years, and then spent 6 years on the board of the Canadian Organic Trade Association, and I'm now in my last year, my 6th year of the Canadian Health Food Association. So it's such a great way for entrepreneurs to create community and give back, and get more networked into your local economy, and just I highly encourage it if you've been thinking about it or you're not already. It's a great way to help to grow your business. I've also done a lot of mentorship, and I really like that. It makes me feel good. So I do it for me, but I also know that I'm helping a lot of other entrepreneurs, and focus really on my purpose of helping make this world a healthier place. I've had my own personal journey with health, and I know that many are interested or need to. So I've been over the last couple of years that I've been not involved running day-to-day Manitoba Harvest. I've been focusing my efforts on mentorship, investing, advising in other natural product entrepreneurs. I do have a portfolio of companies and that I think speak to some of the trends that I believe are going to be that are gaining momentum. Own Mushrooms is one of my portfolio companies based in Carlsbad, California, growing functional mushroom species, organic functional mushrooms. The business is vertically integrated and sells both mushroom ingredients and branded mushrooms. So similar, I would say it's the Manitoba Harvest of the mushroom industry. I'm active as chairman of the board of Soul Cuisine, which is listed on the TSX Venture. Is the oldest plant-based protein company in Canada, based in Toronto. We are a manufacturer, offering branded, private label, and food service meat analog substitutes, but also veg-forward meals and appetizers, really just making it easier for consumers to eat more plant-based. I'm involved in Love Good Fats, which is a bar company that's been on rocket ship growth for the last 3 years and has done over 100 million in combined sales over 3 or 4 years, but really promoting the high good fat, low sugar lifestyle. Also Midday Squares, which is an organic functional chocolate company. And if you're on social media, maybe you've seen Midday Squares. Not only is it a phenomenal product, and they are manufacturing their own product, but they're really changing the way that storytelling it can help their brand. They have a media company in their business, and I think just a great example of how sharing your story out to the masses can really help your business and your brand to grow. And I'm also involved in Good Cap Pharma, which is now researching psilocybin for treatment of depression and other naturally treatable disorders, which I think mushrooms are like cannabis. They really cross the spectrum of food, supplement, medicine, and drug, and they are only going to be in higher and higher demand, I think. But overall, I think some of the trends, there's both consumers are coming at it from a benefits and need states. The plant-based lifestyle is definitely gaining more and more traction. It used to, people used to say that they were a vegan or vegetarian. I think those words are a little polarizing. Now more and more consumers say, hey, I like plant-based and I eat more plant-based, and it's probably coming at it from a flexitarian lifestyle, but just more interested in eating more plants. Organic and organic products continue to grow. Low sugar, I think, is a big one. From a need state standpoint, allergen-friendly foods, weight loss, immune support, which has been intensified by COVID and people's awareness to their own health. But I believe all these are more long-term trends. So maybe as you're thinking about your business or your product innovation or your positioning of your product, those are some of the areas that I think would be worthwhile to focus on if you're in food. I'd want to highlight, as part of my mentorship and give back, we created with Greg Fleischman and I created fatafleischman.org. It is a mass mentorship toolbox. And really, Greg and I thought over the 20 years of growing businesses in the natural product space from $0 to $100 million, we amassed all these forms and templates and tools that we thought would be great to be able to get them out to the masses, because entrepreneurs were always asking us for some of these items that we had. And so it started as a Dropbox file. Now it's a full website, self-service. There's investor lists, there's pitch deck examples, there's co-packer databases, there's organizational structural templates, projection models, finance models. There's HR documents. There's a whole assortment of items. It's all free. It's our way of giving back. I call it mass mentorship. I wish I could talk to people one-on-one and give them those files one-on-one, but it's the way of addressing a much larger audience, which we have now over 6,000 entrepreneurs that have accessed and are using the toolbox on a regular basis. Fatafleischman.org. It's on my LinkedIn profile if you want to go and check it out, and you can just sign up and go and start searching around in the toolbox. I also host a weekly Clubhouse event called Natural Product Founders Helping Founders, really with the goal of creating actionable advice and support to founders and entrepreneurs in the natural products industry. I host a successful founder, and we talk through some of the what helped create success in their business. But then the majority of it is a question and answer session, so that entrepreneurs can come up and ask specific advice for situations that they're faced with. And so if you're interested, it's Tuesdays at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Some of the links of that are also in my social handles. And I'm very active on LinkedIn. If we're not connected already, you can connect with me there. I'm happy to help out if I can. I think entrepreneurship is a great opportunity. There's many potential paths that lead to success, both conventional and unconventional. Being in the agriculture industry or anything to do with like food and consumer products is a huge opportunity. But it really it takes a community for entrepreneurs to be successful, and I hope that I can be a support mechanism for that. I'm happy to jump into questions or discussion points if we want to unpack any of that journey further or get into anything else. There's nothing's off limits, I told Brad, so go ahead.
Thanks, Mike. That's great. Thanks for sharing your story. Jump into some of the questions I had. Yeah, going back your story, wow, Mike. So you talked about where you started and where you started from pressing the oil and finding the farmers all the way eventually going to a certified food safety manufacturing facility, a certified facility. Those very early days where you pressed the oil, where were you pressing it? And talk about that and how you started the actual physical process. And then where did you find the farmer? What was that for I guess this would be input for the companies online that are at that very early stage that you were at that point way back in early part of the century here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the farm. I'll start with the farmer. Art Padaroka is he's a retired farmer, but Art was convinced by his son, that was a friend of a friend, to grow hemp. So I'm not sure that Art had he gave the support, but there was some convincing there from his son. Yeah, we got our start in the Food Development Center, in Manitoba Food Development Center, which again, great. It's a great thing that all across Canada, either the food development centers or the universities have pilot scale production facilities. So we literally could go in and for a day, rent and hemp oil was our first product. For the day, rent a bottling machine, rent a labeling machine, and do a production run. But even on top of that, the Food Development Center staff had a directory of suppliers. When we said, well, we need bottles, where can we get an assortment of different kinds of bottles, or label manufacturers as well, until we really built up our own internal processes to know these different vendors. It was just such a huge resource. Even after, we operated out of the Food Development Center for about 5 years. It started on a daily basis, and then it went to, we'd be in there for a week at a time, until we ultimately had we had a month-to-month, a long-term lease, and we were the biggest client out of there. And then they asked us to kindly leave one day, and then we built our facility. But even from then, we used the Manitoba Food Development Center, and have used other food centers across Canada when we were doing research, product-specific research, because it seems each in the network has their own expertise if it comes to bar manufacturing or protein drying or kind of anything specific from a food manufacturing.
Right. And getting into that market that you went in, I think was dubbed the super seeds market at that point, where you were entering it, or maybe it wasn't dubbed that yet. But were you like early leader in that? Was there any other hemp companies in Canada at that time that were doing something similar to what you were doing, or were you was your company the first?
I think I got the question was, and the question, there was many hemp companies right when hemp was legalized in 1998, and then throughout the years. So Manitoba Harvest had a lot of competition. I always like to think about it as co-opetition, because we were starting a new industry. The last thing we needed to do was fight each other. Some businesses took that approach. I took the approach more of trying to work with everyone together to better the industry, and it's why I helped start the Canadian Hemp Trade Association, and then ran that board and created the membership to get everyone together. But as it relates to super seeds, we came up with that, call it super seed merchandising before hemp. Flaxseed was being sold in health food stores, and so and even into grocery. And so when we went into the stores, we were explaining to the store managers or buyers that they should be putting hemp and flax together, because they're both super seeds that contain essential fatty acids, and consumers are buying them for similar reasons. And even chia seed, as chia became more popular, it was hemp, flax, and chia. And then we used that to show stores, if they merchandised and created in their cereal section or the nutrition section or even in produce, and they put those 3 seeds together from the different brands, that the whole category would sell better. And so, I've learned a lot about merchandising, and again, I think the opportunity for entrepreneurs is to make friends with other businesses that are in your category, sometimes even your competitor. And I use that word co-opetition, because together you can make a bigger impact when it comes to retail and merchandising and displays that can benefit whole categories. Actually, there's some key learnings there.
That's great. Rising tide raises all ships. Here's a question. What do you believe is the most crucial step in getting a new food product from a university lab to the market? I think some of this you've already touched on, but do you have insights there in getting a new food product from the university lab into market?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a final product. So when you say university lab, I'm hoping that that would be, you know, labeled, packaged, ready to go. There's kind of, I think, and 2021 has changed a little bit, but I like the farmers market mentality. I think going to your local community, whether it is a farmers market or it is a selection of stores, I call it the health food stores, just because it's easier access to be able to go there and sell. But you know, in your 50-kilometer radius from your house, because if you created a good product, you're going to have a customer base there, and you can prove it. I like the concept of bootstrapping, and you can make 100 of a product, go out and sell it at the farmer's market, or sell it at your local market, or sell it at a couple health food stores, then go and make 250 and do that, and then make 500 and kind of really learn along the way. But also, so that I think that strategy still rings true to today, but online is a huge opportunity, because the ability to go and make a website and get set up to sell your own product and ship your own product has never been easier. Literally over a weekend, you could put together a great Shopify store, and then just start telling your friends and family about the product you're creating, and start taking orders. And so I like the combination of both of those. You could still maintain a bootstrap model, and people don't know bootstrap meaning you're not raising tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're doing it kind of step by step, and then make sure that you have a product market fit before you would start to really put bigger effort to it, or raise capital, or extend yourself in that way.
Great tips, Mike. Thanks. And this question you touched on a little bit already as well, but for companies hiring for the business development position, what do you think is key? I mean, MBA, business degree, is that critical? What is most important if you're looking at that very critical position of business development, and having somebody within your company that's leading that business development position and doing a lot of those things that you've already talked about? What do you think is key?
Yeah,
and is it MBA and business degree as well? And what's important?
Yeah. I think it depends on the stage of the company. If it's a startup and you're going, again, more of the bootstrap model, I'm hoping that the founder or one of the founders has interest and some competence on business development, because business development is not that hard. I use the example when we first started at Manitoba Harvest. I put a goal to myself of wanting to sell $1,500 a day, and pick up the phone and phone health food stores and offer our package to them of what we were selling, and it's really a process, and so hiring that process compared to having that through one of the founders. Businesses need good, I would call inside people and outside people, and as a founder, you should really realize what your core competency is. Is it the inside person or the back of the house, where you're technically savvy, you understand intimately the product you're making and developing, you maybe understand operations of how to make it, and maybe even finance as well, or is it outside facing, and you understand, and your competency is really in sales and marketing. From my experience, and we had a couple of co-founders, I naturally went to more of the outside individual. I can go and share the story. I can do product development, and then go and do business development. I think the path of the entrepreneur that either is an entrepreneur of all trades and can be impactful in sales, marketing, ops, and finance, or is naturally more a sales and marketing person, or trains themselves in that way, I think is a better path to success, because nowadays, the vision and the branding of the business, especially if you're in consumer packaged goods, and creating that creating that sales funnel and that sales cycle is critical. And most businesses, when they're just starting up, can't afford to hire someone that's senior enough to do that without going out and raising significant capital. And then you're also kind of giving that power away, which I think it's going to be best for the founder to put effort to kind of learn that part of the industry.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Question on funding. I should point out on AgWest Bio's website, AgWest Bio, we're a membership-based organization. And for those of you that are online that aren't members, we'd encourage you to become members. And we have many resources at AgWest Bio. And one of our resources is online. We have funding sources for Ag Bio commercialization of research, to talk about funding sources, and an interactive tool on our website. And so this is a question, Mike, on funding. And you've talked about funding already, a little bit about some of those amazing public sources and also private sources that you tapped into. Really specific question here. How do you get funding for equipment as a startup? Maybe you talk about how you did it, or what you're aware of now.
Yeah, well, you need a certain amount of equity into a business. So you're going to need to put equity in, whether it's the founder's equity, or the founder's personal debt that can act like equity, or naturally it's your friends and family. And it's best to look at leveraging that equity and your balance sheet to go and use debt to buy equipment. So usually equity is best to grow the business. So using it for product development, for sales and marketing. And there's some great programs. I mentioned earlier, like Business Development Canada has some great programs. So does Farm Credit Canada, if you're dealing with any commodity or any product that you're buying right from a Canadian producer, it's going to be a great fit for them. And then there's some, there are some programs, and I think there are going to be more programs by Ag Canada for lower cost interest loans, or government guaranteed loans, or even interest-free loans. But you do need equity to be able to get at some of those debt vehicles. Use debt to buy equipment, and then use equity for the working capital and the growth dollars for the business is the best path. And as part of the reason I didn't touch on it in the presentation, but to get Manitoba Harvest used $6.5 million of equity to grow to a $100 million business. But until we were a $10 million business, it was only $1 million of equity through those first 10 years that we raised. But if you look at the $6.5 million equity, we accessed about $15 million in loans, and it was a combination of low interest, no interest, some of the supporting programs, and then also probably $2.5 million of grants over that time. So the grants and the debt were 2/3 of our financing over the long period of time for Manitoba Harvest, which just keeps more equity in the entrepreneur's pocket.
Okay. Thanks. Here's another question, and I might elaborate on this one a little bit. So make it a two-part. So you mentioned challenges with the DEA in the United States, and you mentioned eventually being successful, although it took many years. And do you have any tips for anybody that's trying to take on those regulatory hurdles in the United States, and how you did it? Did you hire professionals? You talked about you did it as a team effort with the association, but it sounds like you really led that, Mike. But any tips, and if there's professionals regarding the lobbying, we'd love to hear that. And then the second part of the question, in Canada, what has been your experience with working with regulatory agencies in Canada, and is there assistance available to navigate both paths, either Canada or United States?
Yeah. Yeah, regulations are a significant barrier for business if they're standing in your way. And so, and again, we faced that not only directly on with the DEA, but just Health Canada's laws when they first legalized hemp, and some of it just really made no commercial sense, and it took them a very long time to to change some of those regulations. I think that the answer is don't do it alone. I mentioned that, you know, the DEA, we work the Hemp Industries Association. So usually there's a nonprofit in your space that you can get together with other like companies that that have kind of some of the same interests, and then pool your resources, both financial resources, but then even lobbying efforts, because an industry nonprofit is going to be able to accomplish some of that a lot easier than any standalone business or an entrepreneur would. You know, and in Canada here, similar. I mean, as I mentioned, I'm a you know am a board member of the Canadian Health Food Association. CHFA has a lobbying voice for regulatory specific to natural and organic products, to natural health products regulations in Canada here, and helps our members with a voice in Ottawa. But we did similar with the Canadian Hemp Trade Association when we were lobbying Health Canada to relax some of the hemp regulations that, you know, were formed in 1998 but needed to be iterated and changed to the benefit of growing the industry. So yeah, don't do it alone. Look for your community of like-minded businesses, and maybe that's through a nonprofit association that can help fight that fight.
Great, thanks for the answer. So fataandfleischmann.org, all those tools, Mike. First of all, on behalf of everybody, thanks for doing that. That's just simply awesome. I wasn't aware of that. I'm going to go check that out definitely. So thanks for highlighting that, and with your mentoring, that's all the work you're doing right now with mentoring, and you're mentoring companies over the years and founders over the years. Is there would you say a common, like a general mistake that founders make, new entrepreneurs make, that's you're seeing rather a consistent theme right across the board that you can right away address and try to steer them in the right direction? Or is it really just entrepreneur specific, company specific, industry specific, or is there one common or a couple common themes?
Yeah, you know, it's there are some. I say the theme would be not having a plan, and it's hard to have a plan if you haven't done it before, because you don't know. You're building the plane and flying it at the same time, and so that's why Greg and I wanted to make access to some of the tools and templates that people could go and start to plan their business out with either planning their sales and forecasting that properly, or planning you know, their organizational development, what their business needs to look like, or, you know, and more and more as the businesses grow from startup to more established company, how to form a board of directors, or how to attract an advisory board. But I think generally entrepreneurs, if they haven't done it before, they're going to struggle with, like, what's my next step? And that's why you need to get good mentors around you. I was very fortunate that I sought out mentors in the industry, and until I had a formalized board of directors, I had a list of people that I would call if I had a sales focused question. I know who I'd reach out to: marketing, ops, finance. So I like to think about business kind of departmentally like that, because I think it's different experiences, it's different skill sets. If whether it's, you know, technical operations expertise, or it's understanding the market and the sales, how to go to market. And Greg and I both just felt that same way. And so we thought, and we were sick and tired of seeing all these consultants selling forms and templates to people which we just thought it should be free. And we're going to continue to expand on that. We've been doing trainings really just so that we could help as many entrepreneurs as possible with the touch points, the time that we have. Because as much as I'd like to mentor everyone one-on-one, I get so many requests, and I only have so many hours in the day. So, but I think, you know, back to your mistakes, just like it's not one big win for a business to be successful. It's a million little wins added up. the opposite is true, that it's usually not one big mistake that is going to hurt a business. It's a million little mistakes that can also really hurt a business. And so properly planning your product and your approach to go to market, and then having some good advisors around you to gain information from is your best defense to that.
Okay, thanks. Another question that just came in, and this one's a compliment, Mike, and it says you're an inspiration for kids raised by single moms. And have you wrote a book or organized anything special to youth?
Well, appreciate that. My mom would be proud to hear that, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I have had a book in the back of my mind for a long time, and actually we're just starting to work on that, so it will be in 2022 putting it out. But until that's done, I kind of just, that's why I share on social, and I share in a way that gives gives people hope that you can come from any path in life, and it's really about finding your why, finding your passion, and then really digging into that. So I appreciate the compliment, and hopefully, I'll be back here or otherwise promoting a book and being able to give copies to people or having that available to them.
Well, we look forward to that. Again, on the personal note, if we're on that theme right now, it's your story and your journey. It's obviously not just a physical one of creating a product and scaling it up and manufacturing it. It's a personal journey as well, like self-discovery and finding what you're good at and putting yourself out there. What are you most proud of, I guess, from like a human capital growth perspective, if you look back at your journey, and what stands out to you that you're most proud of?
Yeah, I think most proud of is becoming a good leader and a good mentor to others. I was fortunate to have those young early years of being in construction and being in a foreman or management position, realizing that being the boss is not telling other people what to do. Being a boss or a manager or an owner is making sure that you help people, they have the proper resources to accomplish whatever you're asking them to accomplish, and making sure that vision's clear. So it's a little bit like the upside down triangle in business is servant leadership. And so I'm naturally a servant leader. I think that anyone that has kids, you could take two approaches to your family. You can either be like a forceful leader or a servant leader, empowering your children to be their best self. Same is true in business. I've walked a mile in every shoes of, Manitoba Harvest got up to 225 team members there. And I would never ask anyone in the business to do something that I wouldn't personally do, and understand and listen to them of the resources that they needed to be successful. And I think every entrepreneur can think like that, and it's going to really benefit their organization, whether they, have one person working with them or they have hundreds.
Okay, thanks. And out of all your awards, Mike, like Entrepreneur of the Year Award, Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award, and Nutrition Business Journal Education Award, and so on and so forth, is there one that you're the most proud of, if you look at and say that's the greatest accomplishment for me, and I'm glad I was recognized for that one, because that one has so much meaning for me? Is there one that stands out?
Well, the last one stands out. I like them all, it's and because they're milestones in the journey. But the last award that I just received this year was the John Holtman Leadership Award from the Canadian Health Food Association for 20 years of being in the industry, and really being a leader in the industry. And the reason that it's extra special for me, although it's been 2 decades, is John Holtman was a Winnipegger, was one of my mentors, and I think he'd be super proud of that award. So.
Great. Well, this has been great. Thanks everybody for joining us today, and a big thank you to Mike. Mike, this has been wonderful. Lots of insights, and your story is just amazing. So thanks again for Mike for Mike being here, everybody. Thank you.